I'm Corbitt with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, July the 25th, brought to you in part by ProBac by VITALIX. ProBac vaccines provide the most complete protection against common BRD causing bacteria. Other killed vaccines don't even come close. For more information, go to buymetabiologicals.com. Also, Unionville Livestock Market in north central Missouri and Creston Livestock Market in south central Iowa. Unionville just had a very successful special on Tuesday where they broke records and sold some of the highest cattle we've seen in the nation. Of course, some of those records have been broken since then, but it was a whale of a sale that they had on Tuesday in Unionville. Their next big sale is going to be August the 5th. Now, up at Creston, they've got a regular all classes sale coming up August the 1st, but they're preparing for their big barbecue customer appreciation special, and that's going to be Wednesday, August the 20th. So be thinking about that. Of course, you can watch all the Unionville and Creston sales on DVAuction.com. Mild correction. The board was down on Thursday, and we're not used to that because it hasn't been down very much here in the past several weeks, but it was down and significant losses, but really can't hardly call it much of a correction because the drop that we saw on Thursday was not nearly as big as the rise that we saw on Wednesday. And of course, we've been seeing big rises, here of late, so I'm not sure. I think we'd have to be down several days in a row to call it a real correction. But there's just a lot of bullishness still out here in this market. Namely, on your reports that are coming out here on Friday, the cattle on feed report. I think a lot of us are thinking it's going to be bullish. They've got the inventory July the 1st cranked up there on the estimates at 99.1. They've got placements all the way up at 98.1. Marketings, they've got them up pretty good. I don't know if we can reach that because slaughter has been slashed so much here of late, but they've got those at 96.1. They usually have a pretty good handle on the marketings, but I think there's plenty of room to be bullish on that cattle on feed report. Of course, we also have the biannual cattle inventory report this year. We didn't have it last year, but they're expecting a near 2% drop in total cattle and calves compared to the report that came out 2 years ago, and over 2% drop in your calf crop, beef calf crop there. So I'm not thinking that those are going to be bullish. I just think when they come out and they're very near the estimates, it is going to be more confirmation for investors and speculators in the futures market that we really are tight on cattle, and I think they may keep boring on the long side of the cattle futures there, but we'll just have to see how that goes. But your real-time index, which is your cash price that includes your most recent sales, like the ones on Thursday, and we had some very impressive quotes on Thursday, but your real-time index has now went back in front of your spot feeder cattle futures, which is August right now, and it should be in front of it. Now, here lately, your spot feeder cattle futures have been running out in front of your index, and that doesn't seem right, but now we're back in there, and the cash index, the real-time index, only passed it up by about 30 cents, so it's not a whole lot, but I don't think that was much of a loss to be thinking about that happened on Thursday on your futures. But there were more records broke in your sales on Thursday. Of course, I'm going to give all those to you here in just a minute. I want to tell you about what's coming up here this weekend. Now, I'm coming to you right now from somewhere in southeast Arizona. I'm not sure where I am, to tell you the truth, but preparing to speak to the 122nd annual Arizona Cattle Growers Convention here on Friday morning. But God willing, I am going to be in Dodge City, Kansas on Saturday morning. So it's going to take planes, trains, and automobiles to get that done. But I should be bushy-tailed there early Saturday morning to be one of the judges for the King of the Ring auctioneer contest that the Winter Livestock in Dodge City, Kansas always has. I'm kind of excited about this year's contest because it kind of has an unorthodox group of auctioneers competing against one another. Some that you would never thought would be in a contest like that, like David Macedo and some former world champs that I'm kind of surprised to see in there. But it's going to be a good contest. I think it really is. Any of them are capable of winning, and just have to see who's going to be the best on that day. But they're going to have over 8,000 head of feeder cattle coming in off the grass at Dodge City, Kansas. They're going to be mostly steers. I'm sure they're going to bring a whale of a price, and the biggest part of them are going to go into your indexes, both your real-time index and your CME cash feeder cattle index. So that's going to make it jump up there again for the beginning of next week. But of course, also with Winter Livestock's King of the Ring weekend, they induct several new members into the Cattle Marketers Hall of Fame, which has gotten real popular here of late. But there are 4 guys in there, and I hate it because I'm not going to be able to make the banquet. And I could have, but I'm in Arizona right now. But there are 4 guys that mean the world to me, and I believe are sure Cattle Marketer Hall of Fame material. 4 guys in particular, not to take anything away from the other guys, but I just don't know them as well. But the 4 guys, my favorites, and I'm sure tickled to see them get that honor, is John Campbell from La Junta, Colorado, Ellington Peak of Western Video Market, John Rogers of Western Video Market, and John Shaven of Dunlap Livestock Auction. So there's no doubt in my mind that those guys deserve to be in there as much or more than anybody that's been inducted before, and I would like to be there on their special night. I hope those guys are going to hang around for the sale on Saturday, because I want to shake their hand and pat them on the back for that. But that'll be a real treat, and that's coming up on Friday night. We love the auctions here at Feeder Flash, and we like to recognize those auctions that are doing a really good job. And every month, Buy Meat sponsors the Market of the Month, and we like to give it and kind of make a big deal out of them. But every month we try to give that honor to a sale barn that has been doing a really, really good job of late of marketing cattle for their customers and really making stick out sales and doing a good job. But your Buy Meat Market of the Month this time is Green City Livestock Marketing of Green City, Missouri, up there in the Green Hills of Missouri. There are no suits, just boots. And in particular, they did such a good job on the big specials that they had right around the 4th of July holiday, and they were doing such a good job. I tell you what, Steve Evans has been managing that sale forever. I mean, since I was a rookie reporter in Missouri there. And I tell you what, he knows that country. He knows his consigners. They know him. He's had some different ownership come through, but he does a great job. And congratulations to Green City, Missouri Livestock Marketing for being Buy Meat Market of the Month. Let's talk about your board on Thursday. August live cattle futures were down 122 at 225.80. October was down 135 at 222.15. Your back months on live cattle were down 80 to down $1.25. August feeder cattle down 262 at 328.90. September down 225 at $329.65. We used to think down $2 and something is a big deal. Not anymore. I mean, they can go one way or the other, $4, $5, $6 now. So that's a fairly mild drop and shouldn't shock anybody. But September closed at $329.65, and your back months on feeder cattle were down $230 to down $375, and that $375 was on the farthest out traded month of feeder cattle. Your December new crop corn was up 3 1/4 cents at 4.20 3/4. November new crop bean up 1.5 cents at 10.24 1/4 cents a bushel, and your hard red winter wheat for September up 5 cents at 5.28 1/2. Fat cattle trade, we haven't seen any yet. We're still waiting on the fat cattle trade to develop on a direct basis, negotiated in your 5-area feeding region. There has just been little tweaks of things going on, and for once the Southern Plains is the first one to show any established trade to speak of, but the Northern Plains still has their heels dug in. But you look at Iowa, you remember Iowa had some late Monday sales there at 240, which would have been steady with last week. On Wednesday, they had some late Wednesday trade, 140 head of them, at 236, and I don't know that we can call it lower yet. The rest of the guys were still, beating the bushes and trying to get steadier, better prices for their fed cattle. I did hear of some regional trade in Iowa late on Thursday as high as 241, and that would have been a tick better than last week. So just call it what you want. Nebraska has not sold a hoof this week that has been recorded. They may have sold some late on Thursday that I hadn't heard of, but USDA didn't hear about it either. Kansas sold 100 head. They've only sold 400 for the week. All they had was mixed bag sales, steers and heifers, which usually can be construed as a little plainer in quality, at 230, which would have been fully steady with last week. Now in Texas, we've got this thing called the Fed Cattle Exchange. It's through Central Stockyards, and the Fed Cattle Exchange is an online bidding platform for fed cattle, and all of your packers participate in that. It is a transparent price discovery thing. I mean, who would have thought about it, Nobody thinks about that except for me, I guess. But I just love market transparency. They show you what they bring, and price discovery, we can find out. And Texas hadn't sold a hoof much, but they sold 900 on Thursday on the Fed Cattle Exchange at 231, and that's a buck better than they had last week. I think there was some others selling direct trade, just negotiated trade at 230 late. Not sure why they couldn't get the 231, but anyways, I don't know. We're going to be somewhere very close to steady on our fed cattle trade by the time we get it all shook out. We had a couple of auctions up in Iowa. Kelowna Sales Barn, Kelowna, Iowa. They're a DVAuction broadcaster. They sold 700 slaughter cattle on Thursday. Your fed market was $6 to $8 lower. Conventional fed cattle sold from 230 to 236 1/4. Up in Sheldon, Iowa, they had a lighter run. They had 300 head. Fed market was steady to $2 lower. Conventional fed cattle in Sheldon from 236 to 244.50. Box beef cutout values were up a little, but not really very strong after posting big losses there middle of the week. Choice cuts were up 57 cents at 368.09. Selects were up 161 at 347. Your slaughter is disappointing again this week, and we could possibly have the lightest non-holiday slaughter in many years this week. We'll see what it comes out to be, and if they do any Saturday kill to make up for that plant up in the Northern Plains that was running an abbreviated schedule this week. But your slaughter through the first 4 days of the week, estimated cattle slaughter 448,000 head. That's 10,000 less than just last week at this point. 35,000 less than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Livestock Risk Services wants to remind you that there will be no LRPs written today on Friday because it's Cattle on Feed Friday, and they've made that new rule that you can't do that. But I'm thinking as this still is starting to get on a little bit shaky ground, and I mean we're at the tippy top of anything anybody could have ever dreamed of. You may be wanting to get a hold of somebody to get some protection. And I was talking to a Feeder Flash gang member this week, and he got protection on his calves at a really good price that he was very comfortable with. He said it was fairly expensive. It cost him about $70 a head. Guys, some of these trends we've been seeing here of late are $10, $12, $15, $20 higher. It's way more than that $70 a head, just a 1 week trend. Don't let that $70 scare you to get hooked into a price that you can be really happy with down the road. You can even protect the price on unborn calves whenever you know out front when you typically sell them, guys. Look at them. For more information, go to livestockriskservices.com. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market, brought to you by Specialty Risk Insurance. They are working to protect your livelihood. Your real-time index, after all your sales are concluded on Thursday, sitting at 329.20. That was up $1.34 compared to the end of Wednesday's trade. But your CME cash feeder cattle index trailing behind at 326.18. You look at your big sales on Thursday. Winter Livestock and Pratt had a pretty good sale. Of course, it's King of the Ring week around south central Kansas there, and Pratt goes right along with Dodge City. But they had 1,900 head there. Steers sold $5 to $15 higher. Heifers sold $10 to $15 higher, with spots as much as $20 higher on your yearling heifers. And if you think that might be wild, I'm going to give you a set of them here. 53 yearling heifers off the grass in Pratt, Kansas, weighed 809 pounds at 326. We couldn't get that for steers just last week. Let's talk about Woodward Livestock Auction. They had 2,000. That's a good run for them. Feeder steers is what they mostly had, and they sold steady to $5 higher. Woodward was your Superior Steel Sales, home of Superior Standard Livestock Handling Equipment, stick-out sale of the day. And you look at this automated marker report from Woodward Livestock Auction in Woodward, Oklahoma, and you see your best tested weights there on the heavy end. They had 212 head of 7-weight steers. They averaged 767 at 335.57. How about 350 head of 8-weight steers, averaged 847 at 326.72, and 310 head of 9-weight steers, averaged 937 at 308.55. Look at the heifers. They had 188 heifers in the 5-weight category. They averaged 554 at 375.34. 193 had a 6-weight heifers, averaged 646 at 341.83. Pretty good sale there in Woodward, guys. And I'm going to give you some individual quotes from all around that are very impressive. How about Paris Stockyards in Paris, Kentucky? They sell 68 steers, weigh 761 at 363. Wow. How about Lamona, Iowa? Lamona Livestock there. They had a big deal on some stick-out heifers. They sell 2 loads of heifers, weigh 865 at 317.60. Wow, big time quote on heavy 8-weight heifers. How about up in Valentine, Nebraska, Valentine Livestock Market? They had a hell of a sale. 2 quotes I want to give you. The Powderhorn Ranch had 65 steers, weighed 755, bring 383. And then the Mundorf steers, 183 of them weigh 868 at 349.50. Wow, I never thought I'd see cattle bring that kind of money. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Thursday, and your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Farmers and Ranchers Livestock in Salina, Kansas. That's Mason Winter up there, and he's doing a hell of a job. I hope to see him this weekend. I tell you what, they had a heck of a sale on 8-weight steers, and I wouldn't be surprised if these steers don't go back to grass. That's the kind of price they bring. 64 steers weighed 803 at $359.75, or $2,961 a head. Wow, that's your feeder flash for Friday.